Well, goodness gracious, how did all this corn get here? Oh, wait a minute. I'm not in Florida anymore. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome if it's your first time. I am Tampa J, but I am home here in Indiana, where I was born and raised, right here in East Central Indiana, kind of close to where James Dean was born and raised, right here in the heartland. He was a Hoosier, I'm a Hoosier, and I actually idolized James Dean. He was a hero to me when I was a kid, so it's very awesome to be standing here today to be able to take you guys with me and document my experience of the hometown, the birthplace, and the grave of James Byron Dean, right here in East Central Indiana. Thank you for joining me. There's much ahead. We begin at the birth site and memorial of James Dean right here in Marion, Indiana. There's James right there in his last film, Giant, wearing that cowboy hat. It was a great movie. The sign sits out there on Highway 18 pointing this direction to the former site, past the old train station, at the former site of the apartment building where James was born. American actor James Dean was born on February 8, 1931 in the Seven Gables apartment house which stood on this site. Someone has left some flowers and some coins there. Born on this site, and I believe that house is the old Seven Gables apartment building. It was more like a house. And there's baby James right there, or baby Jimmy, as all his family and friends called him. And then right there, from Rebel Without a Cause, playing a character named James as well in that film, one of my favorites, and the reason I became a James Dean fan. Watched that movie first time I was about 8 or 9 years old, and he became my first icon, or my first idol, not my first icon, but I've always idolized James Dean. James Byron Dean was born on this site at 2 a.m. on February 8, 1931, the only child of Winton and Mildred Dean. Welcome to Fairmount, Indiana, hometown of James Byron Dean. Garfield, author Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, right here from Fairmount, and CBS Phil Jones. There you go, a few famous people from Fairmount. 322 West Vine Street in East Washington. This is where James Dean first lived in Fairmount with his family, with his parents, after they moved from Marion and before they moved to Santa Monica, California. This is where they lived, right here in this home. Standing just east of town, there's a lot of commotion behind me. Actually, there's a construction crew right down here working on the road, East Washington. The road's actually closed, but I'm standing among, right behind me, is where the former Fairmount train station depot used to sit. This is where James Dean would have got off the train when he came from California when he was 9 years old in 1940. He would have got off right here, and with him, his mom had just passed. She was with him on the train. Actually, here you go. I found this old photo of the Fairmount train station. It would have been to the right of the railway tracks right here, somewhere in this vicinity over here. There you go. Then and now, right here before East Washington Street. I used to do this all the time when I was a kid, in Indiana even, not too far south of here. Now approaching the Winslow Farm where James Dean grew up. Just north of town, about a mile, right here is the Winslow Farm. This is where James Dean lived with his aunt and uncle, right here. And I believe Marcus Winslow, James' cousin, who he grew up here, he was a lot younger than Jimmy, still lives here today. And right over here is the farmhouse, or I'm sorry, the barn, where James used to work in and play. There's pictures all the way around this property of James Dean. This is where he was raised from 1940 to 1949. And you can actually make out the Back Creek Church up there where James Dean went to church. I've got an old photograph of James Dean, Jimmy, standing in front of the barn here. He's just on the other side. Notice the fireplace there, right there. He would have been standing about over here. The picture taken this way, the photographer would have been over here. I'd walk down in there, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to overstep my boundaries here. I did read online that I could come and take pictures here in the driveway, so I don't want to bug anyone, but I do know that they do allow this, so this is very cool to just be standing here on this property. Coming over here to match up a screenshot of James sitting on a wall here, a former wall right here in front of the mailbox on his revisit back here in 1955, just before he was killed out in California. He came back and there were several photographs taken. Now right here among the driveway, you get a side shot of James's head. Notice the wall to the left and to the right, and the barn in the background, and the awning of the home down the driveway. That wall, now I'm a little to the left, but that wall, no longer as tall as it was, but that's remnants of that wall. That tree would have been right here. The mailbox in the same area, there also been a wall here. James would have been standing about right there in front of his former home. Now I don't know if that was Tuck, but James had a dog named Tuck, and that could have been him. I'm not sure, but that wall, which is no longer there, was right there beyond the mailbox. The mailbox in a similar location, you could tell by the curvature of this wall back here. It goes all the way back here. Well, that a portion of that wall is still here today, and there's that curvature of that wall then and now. James would have been standing, or sitting, sorry, there with a dog right there on the former wall. You can also make out the barn in the background. I didn't think to bring an umbrella with me. I just got off a plane. I read that this farm was built in 1904. Some horses coming in from the rain. Beautiful horses. Caught their attention. There's one over there too. A lot of cars going by. It's the main road from Marion to Fairmount, other than a highway or interstate. And here's a photo of Jimmy pushing his little cousin Marcus right there, which Marcus lives here today, all grown up. And he would have been pushing him in that little car coming down this way. That truck in the photograph was parked right underneath that awning. That is so awesome. We're actually right down over there. They're probably going down that hill right there, or were. If James Dean was going to keep his motorcycle somewhere, he would have kept it, just guessing, in that smaller barn. Probably would have came up the driveway here and took a right and headed into town. Right there, as I'm about to do. Back Creek Friends Meeting. This little Quaker church is where James Dean used to attend when he was a boy. Right here. Back Creek Friends, a Quaker church. A lot of Quakers in central eastern Indiana. My family as well. My ancestors were Quakers, and actually my great-grandfather was a minister at the Rich Square Friends Church just south of Newcastle, Indiana, not even 50 miles from here. The Back Creek Friends Church was actually built in the mid-1800s, and I was reading that it is one of the oldest churches in Grant County, if not the oldest. But it used to be just this right here. Everything else is additional, has been added. It would have been just this building, just a small building right here. And here's the best look I can give you of the inside. Just a small little church. Check out the pews, not many rows. Right down there in the center is the pulpit and the piano or organ to the left and to the right. Look at that, very simple. Wow, right there is where James Dean started his acting career, allegedly. Allegedly he was in some church plays in here. I'm doing my hardest to call him Jimmy Dean because that's what he was called. That's what his family and his friends knew him as. But I've always called him James because that's what we know him as. Welcome to Carter's Motors, where Jimmy Dean used to hang out, work on motorcycles. Actually, this is where he got his first motorcycle, right down the street here from his house. Carter's Motors, this old Indian sign sitting up there. Love Indian motorbikes, awesome. Very, I've always been into the kind of like the cafe racer style motorbikes, and I believe James had some sort of Czechoslovakian motorcycle. It was kind of a cafe racer style, early 1900s, I think like 1918. This building was built in 1894 is what that stone says up there. This is where Jimmy fell in love with racing. hanging out at the motorcycle shop, working on his first bike himself, purchasing it, driving up and down 150 East to his home, back to high school every day down there in Fairmount. And as we know, if you ride like lightning, you crash like thunder. Jimmy was fascinated with racing, became a race car driver, and met his demise behind the wheel, driving a little too fast out there in California. A lot of cars going back and forth. But that way, just down here to the right, on 150 East again, is where James Dean is buried, right up here in the cemetery. That's where we're headed now. Park Cemetery. James Dean, buried somewhere over in that vicinity. Stay. Here we go. James Dean, second drive on Wright, top of hill. Look at that. This way. And according to this sign and the sign that we just saw, it should be on top of the hill up here. Hey Jimmy. Looks like someone left you a kiss. Fresh print of lipstick there. Which, who knows how many people have kissed his headstone. And this isn't the original headstone. I was reading that it has been replaced several times because people have stolen it. But here we are. Wow. James Byron Dean. February 8th, 1931. September 30th, 1955. Laid to rest here October 8th, 1955. Just a couple weeks prior to Rebel Without a Cause premiering, and then Giant. James Dean died before his last two movies came out. Only starred in 3 major motion pictures. East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant. 3 masterpieces if you ask me. Forever young, as Bob Dylan once sang about him. Forever young. 24 years old. Gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Kind of emotional. Be standing here visiting the gravesite of my first childhood idol, James Dean. Good to see you, Jimmy. Good to be here, man. Too bad you couldn't see the world progress. You would have had fun, man. It would have been a heck of a ride. The things you would have done, I imagined you hanging out with Elvis and the Beatles. You know, you and maybe perhaps racing in the Indy 500. Maybe you would have won the Indy 500. Who knows? But forever young, man. Forever young. Paying my tribute, man. Love you, man. Good to be here. I'm not ashamed to dry my tears standing here. Are those tears? Or is that rain coming down? I'll let you decide. But right next to Jimmy's grave is his father's grave, Winton. Right there. He died in 1995. I didn't realize he survived that long or lived that long. And he's buried right next to Ethel, which Ethel is Jimmy's stepmom, which after he moved from Fairmount out to LA, he went to, I believe, Santa Monica. There was a college in Santa Monica he went to, and then he went to UCLA. He stayed with his stepdad for a little while in Ethel, and they didn't get along. Him and his father, obviously his father sent him back here after his mom had died, and they just, you know, they never got along. Jimmy's nickname was Little Bastard, and that was written on the back of his Porsche, Spider that he died in, that he got killed in out in California. He was on his way to a race in Salinas. I believe he was killed somewhere out there on Highway 41, Cali, which I plan to visit one day. I want to see the death spot where he went. We visited the apartment in New York City here on this channel before. The first time I ever went to New York, there was 2 places I wanted to go. It was James Dean's apartment on 68th Street near Central Park West. Also documented it here on this channel. I made a video of it a couple years ago. But yeah, I want to go check out that site now that I've seen the birth spot, his resting place, and his apartment in New York City. I plan on checking out all the James Dean locations. And also over here, he's buried next to, in between his father, his stepmom, and his aunt and uncle who lived in the home we just saw. Marcus and Hortense. I'm sorry for butchering that name. It's a very rare name. It's beautiful, and I'm probably saying that wrong, and it's probably an obvious pronunciation, but it's just not hitting the brain right now. But there you go. They died. The mother died. His aunt died in 1991, and Marcus Sr. died in 1976. And his son Marcus, who James grew up with, the young boy you see in all those photographs, lives back in the home again. Well, I didn't plan ahead. I don't really have anything very sentimental to leave Jimmy, but I did find this quarter in my pocket, and it's from 1979. That's the year my dad graduated high school here in Indiana, so that kind of has some significance to it, some meaning. Why not? Best I could do. Right there looks like some people with some guitar picks. There you go, Jimmy. Right there's also some Hot Wheels, a pony, a lock, all kinds of little trinkets there. I'm not gonna kiss it, but as you can see, someone has. Out of all the moments I've had here within these videos on this channel, that one right back there is one of my absolute favorites. And here we are at James Dean's old stomping grounds at the corner of Main Street in Washington. Right here before the old bank. Check this out. Actually, you can make this old bank out behind James in an old photograph that was taken on the sidewalk right down over there. Now standing a little ways here on Washington from Main Street. Notice the bank over there. Up there it says 1889, the year that bank was constructed, and over here on the wall, a photograph of James from Rebel Without a Cause, a giant photo there. It says James Dean Gallery. I believe we'll see many photos right down here in downtown Fairmount today, all the way around the streets here. And actually, a famous photo of James was taken right here in 1955. He was walking down the street here. I'll show you the old photograph, and you can make out the old bank in the background. Check it out. Then and now, right there, James Dean walking this way. That's awesome. Now, I don't smoke, but I'd definitely light a heater up right now if I had one. And look at that, right there behind me the whole time. James Dean's visual tour. Jimmy Dean was here. And there's the photograph of him walking right here. That's awesome. And also I noticed there's a mural over here on this building. I see Jimmy Dean over here. 110 East Washington Street, which is the Rebel Lodge. Look at that. Jimmy Dean right up there from Rebel Without a Cause. This is an Airbnb holiday apartment. Visit airbnb.com and look, a couple paintings from Rebel Without a Cause right here in the windows. One of the greatest movies of all time, one of my favorites. Love this film, saw it at a very young age. One time I held a movie night at my church back in high school, and we showed two movies. The theming was the 50s, and I got to choose the movies. The first movie was Rebel Without a Cause. The second movie, Back to the Future. Always loved this film, the 50s especially. James Dean, of course. Amazing. I would love to stay here. I didn't know about this place. Right here downtown, Fairmount. Check it out. Holiday apartment, airbnb.com. The Rebel Lounge. And there he is right there. Looking out down Washington towards the Fairmount Historical Society and Museum, which I'll try to go to today. James Dean's motorcycle, I believe, is right down there in that building. In this window, an advertisement for the 41st annual car show, James Dean run. Look at that right there. James Dean from Giant in front of that old car. Here's another photo on the James Dean visual tour. Right in front of this bank, I'll show you in a second, but he was sitting on his motorcycle. Notice up here, there's a little pattern on this, above this brick right here. So I'm standing right below that. He would have been out here behind me. There's that pattern, and this is this brick wall right there behind him. And I'm gonna, remember the photo, I'm gonna pop out. He would have been sitting kind of where this truck is. It's a busy street out here. But yeah, he would have been parked right out here in the motorcycle in front of the Citizens Exchange Bank, which is the same bank we saw over there where he got his photo taken just a few moments ago. Yeah, James Dean would have been parked here where this GMC is. Oh, kind of right behind it actually. Right here in between this truck and that vehicle right here is where he would have been parked in this photograph. I'll show it to you one more time so you can see it. But yeah, this wall, this brick wall, is where this is at right there. And here we go, James Dean standing before this building. Right here, I'll show you exactly in a second, with his friend Bill Beck and his cousin, Marcus Winslow Jr. Right there. So James, notice the window here to the right, especially this brick right there. James would have been standing. It's a little different today. That's all boxed in now. James would have been standing about right there in front of the window. That's all boxed in, that's different today. But that's where that photo was taken, right there. Right among Fairmount ice cream. Fairmount ice cream, look at that. Not Fairmount, Fairmont. This is Fairmount, but that's Fairmont ice cream. Just notice that. One more time. James Dean standing right before this window actually. Right there, back in 1955. That is so cool. Very awesome. This town reminds me of downtown Greenfield, downtown Newcastle, places I grew up here in Indiana. It reminds me of that. It looks like a lot of the other small towns that I've been to here. Very cool. Home of James Dean. All right, so much to see today. And now on the corner of East Adams Street and South Vine Street, these steps right here are the only thing left of the former pathway to the former Fairmount High School. The Fairmount Fighting Quakers. This is where James Dean graduated in 1949. Formerly would have graduated here. This is where the old high school sat. And James played basketball and baseball, and he acted in the school plays. Check it out, I found an old image of the school right there. Actually, I pulled it off Google Earth. Notice the tree to the left, the fence, and this concrete thing down there. And obviously the school, check out the school. That's what it used to look like. But I'm doing kind of a then and now. That's where the school used to be, the tree and that concrete thing right there. Those look like maybe some old steps or something. But not much is left of James Dean's old high school. I'm sure you can find a video out there on the internet. I believe some of my friends have been out here before as well. I know Adam has, Adam the Woo. I think he made it here during the time that the school was actually here. I think it was torn down a few years back. But yeah, this is where James Dean took his first acting classes, right here in the high school. And right here, James Dean's drama teacher, Adeline Nall. And Jimmy was quoted as saying that she was the one who was credited for inspiring him. She was his drama teacher and James Dean's favorite teacher. And here we are about to go inside the Fairmount Historical Museum, founded in 1975. It is said there is a lot of James Dean memorabilia in here. I've come to check it out. Also, I see Garfield over there. Hey buddy. And that's Cool Cat Garfield, a little mixture of James Dean and Garfield there. Hey, he looks hungry. He's probably hunting for some lasagna. All right, let's go check it out. Oh look, there's the rebel right there himself. That's an awesome cutout. Would love to have one of those. It's very classic. I'm all paid up, paid my $5. Welcome to the world's largest collection of James Dean memorabilia, and also seeing some awesome things. We're gonna go all around this house and check it out. Oh wow, getting goosebumps. That's his motorcycle. Hold on one second. There's the bust of his head. And it says right here that this is the model that was used to sculpt the bust at the observatory, the Griffith Observatory in California, which I need to go to, where they filmed Rebel Without a Cause. But there you go. And there's also one that sits down here in downtown somewhere here in Fairmount. So I'll try to find that. But the motorcycle. It looks like some of his sweater vest there from high school. 1947 Czechoslovakia, courtesy of Marcus Winslow, James' cousin. That was his first motorcycle. Right there. Wow. Used to go up and down the streets of Fairmount on this. And then there is a sweater vest, a leather vest. It says it's his baseball and his basketball. Very cool. Yeah, I always admired that too. I grew up playing basketball in Indiana. I played baseball as well. So, very cool. He's a very talented young man. There's that same picture we saw Jimmy walking down East Washington there, just after Main Street. I believe that was 1955. Over here in this case. Some of his baby clothes. That is adorable. Look at that. Oh, and this looks like a some kind of birth certificate. That is adorable. And oh look, there's some of his shoes. Right there. Trying to get it to focus, there's a glare. The Bible was given to Jimmy by the Bat Creek Friends Church for his high school graduation. There's his Bible. And he could draw, look at this. Artwork and lettering done by Jimmy during grade school at Fairmount High. Look, it looks like he drew the Wright flyer there. Hey, was just at the birthplace of Wilbur Wright a few months ago. Right out there where I was born, in Henry County. Here's a picture of Jimmy right there. Look at that. And some more drawings. Look at this. He drew a grasshopper. That's pretty good. James Dean's brown fringe jacket, custom make belt, and blue jeans and cowboy boots from Giant. Look at that. The screen used. Wow, that's amazing. That is awesome. Such a great film. And there's Jimmy and his Porsche Spyder, the car that he was killed in. Right there, number 130. Photo of him there. And over here, this is notice to appear. Oh, it says it's a ticket that he received, a speeding ticket delivered to James Byron Dean, Friday, September 30th, 1955. That was a ticket he received just before he was killed. Wow, I always heard he had just got a ticket. Here's the actual ticket. Wow. And this is one of his racing uniforms right there. It was just above the photo I just showed you. He wore that right there. That's awesome. A famous photo of James Dean walking in New York City. I believe that is 68th Street, the street where his apartment was, where we've been to before. His 6th grade basketball uniform. Check that out. Now that's awesome. Now it's cool because, you know, my dad saved everything, and my dad was a basketball coach, and I believe I still have my 6th grade basketball uniform somewhere. I once bought a postcard of this exact photo at the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Back in my hometown in Newcastle. I always love that photo. Number 3, Fighting Quakers, Jimmy Dean. This must have been a popular thing because my grandfather has a similar photo. They used to take their senior trips to Washington, D.C. And here's the 1949 senior photo. I've got one at home of my grandfather in 1956 from Mount Summit High. And they're kind of standing in the same location. That must have been a thing. And there's James right there, wearing his 49 sweater. That is awesome. James Dean used this tape player To practice the lines for Giant, the photos show the tape player in James Dean's California home. This tape player hasn't been used since his death. Wow, and there's the photo right there behind him. And he's got his Congo drum there that he used to carry over his shoulder. He would take it everywhere, actually. There's some pictures of him with that in New York, that Congo drum, and here's his sweater that you would see him wearing. There's a photo right there of him wearing that sweater. Look at that. That is so cool. Famous photo of James Dean and his Triumph motorcycle. One photo here. And perhaps the most famous one, the one with the leather jacket flared up behind him with a cigarette. Motorcycle. Here it is. And that is a beautiful piece of machinery right there. I've always loved the Triumphs. Very cafe racer looking. Look at that. It's a beautiful bike. There's so much stuff in here. It's going to be hard to show everything, but I'm just kind of highlighting the stuff that catches my eye the most. Look at that. That is beautiful. And there's some more photos up here of him leaning against this very motorcycle right below. These are some great photos. This is the photographer right there on the bike himself that took these photos, Phil Stern, right there on the Triumph. This is just a photo of Giant, Elizabeth Taylor right there. Yeah, so cool. That is awesome. James Dean's motorcycle, both of them. His first one and his last one right here in this museum. James Dean's Marlin 22 LR caliber rifle right there, model 39 Alpha. He used this to hunt jackrabbits. The sign says while filming in Marfa, Texas, while filming Giant. He was getting into character, it seems. And right here's the lasso. The rope was used by James Dean and other cast members on the set of Giant. Little rope there. Okay, so this is my favorite right here, Rebel Without a Cause. One of my favorite movies of all time. Now this is awesome. Now, if you've seen the movie, you remember this right here in the beginning of the film. It says Steffi Sidney was an actress who played one of the gang members in Rebel Without a Cause. Steffi took this monkey from the set of Rebel. Now it does say below that there were several of these monkeys on set during the time of the film. You can't confirm whether this was the screen used one, but there's a high probability, but this was used right there behind him. There's that opening scene of Rebel when he's playing with the monkey. That could be the one right there before us. Oh, and what is this? Oh my gosh, are these the actual knives? These knives were used in Rebel Without a Cause after Jimmy's death. Warner Brothers Studio and Rebel Without a Cause in 1955 painted on the knives and gave them to Jimmy's father. Oh my gosh. That is from the knife fight at the Griffith Observatory from Rebel Without a Cause. Goosebumps on my goosebumps. And there's the scene right there. Look at that. And it just keeps going. Look, there's some paychecks there from the Chase National Bank. Signed by James Dean. And there's his jacket, the jacket that we have seen for years in those iconic photographs standing before us. We're looking at picked photos with him wearing it, and there he is again. And also his boots right there. Actually right there, his boots and his leather motorcycle jacket. That is so cool. And all these awards in this trophy case, most of them were given to James after he died. This one right here from the Universal Fan Club Association of 57. World Film Favorite, HFPA, 56, 57. And this one here, the German Oscar to James Dean. Look at that, German Oscar. And there's his Congo drum right there. And some bongo drums down there. Actually, I have something like that I've had since I was a kid. They were my dad's. That's very cool. I've never seen those before, but I remember this from a popular photo, or a famous photo, not popular, I guess it'd be popular, of him carrying this on his back in New York City. And also there's a picture of him there playing it inside the cattle pen next to a pig there. out there at the farm, at the Winslow Farm. And he sculpted this. Look at this. He was working on this. Right before he died, there's a picture of him sculpting this very bust right here. Look at that. Man, what a talented guy. Oh, and right here, the tools. His tools that he used to do it. His sculpting tools. This wash basin was in the apartment of the 19th West 68th Street. His apartment in New York City. That is so cool. Now, I've stood in front of that apartment a couple times. Very cool to see an actual piece of it here in Indiana. That is so awesome. It's a sink, man. So cool. James Dean bought and gave this telephone to his aunt and uncle Winslow during his last visit to Fairmount in February 1955. That was so sweet of him. This rocking chair was part of the Winslow family since the 1880s. And there's a photo of Jimmy sitting in it, talking on the phone. Look at that. Right there. That's this chair. So cool. I love that stuff. JamesDeanArtifacts.com. Look, that's me. Over there in the mirror. Caught myself. But you can purchase all this stuff and help this museum out at JamesDeanArtifacts.com. Check out these sweatshirts. I like this one. It has the cutout or James Dean's inside Indiana there, but there's all kinds of stuff in here. 130. What's that? Oh, there's a fleece blanket up there. Look at that. I love that photo in the middle there. Yeah, and also some Garfield stuff in here. Of course, Jim Davis. So cool. Oh, there's a purse over there. Yeah, check it out. JamesDeanArtifacts.com. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
All right. Look at this from the Fairmount, the old Fairmount High, a brick, an authentic brick from Fairmount High School, James Dean class of 1949. 50 bucks. Ooh. Yeah, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm thinking about it. That's why I said that. Ooh.
Yeah.
So I'm buying this shirt. As it said on the back of his race car. I am getting this. I don't know, I've always wanted that. There's all kinds of shirts over here. I would have went for the Fairmount Quakers. That's pretty cool. Or the Matador. He was fascinated with, also fascinated with bullfighting. The Matador. Look at that. Well, James, that was a great time. I know I missed something in there, but I kind of purposely missed it because I want to come back again. And also, the James Dean Gallery, which is on the other side of town, there's a lot of memorabilia in there as well, some souvenirs. So I'm gonna save the gallery and come back here once more sometime in the much ahead, sometime in the future. It's been a fun day. Oh yeah, James Byron Dean and Garfield right here in Fairmount. Oh, what a day. Almost tripped there. Watch your step, because I sure didn't. Will you look at that, painted upon the town water tower, Garfield and James Dean. That is awesome. Jim Davis and James Dean, two JDs, two famous JDs. I just put that together. Well guys, this will wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, give me one of those right down there. Thank you very much. And if it was your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button right down there as well. That way, you can join me next time, if you'd like to. Yeah, some people don't realize that you can actually subscribe down there and get a notification of my next video. Whenever it comes out, you should receive a drop down if you hit the subscribe and the bell. Actually, the bell is the most important part of that process. You need to hit that bell in order to receive a notification for the next video here on this channel, of this channel. But anyways, thanks for joining me. Once again, I'll see you next time, guys. Gonna hit the road. Got some more fun planned in store here in Indiana for the weekend. Gonna go visit with my mom some. All right, guys, rambling on. See you next time. I am Tampa J. There is much ahead. There's more than corn here in Indiana, is the saying. We'll see, though. We'll see. Corn, 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 corn. And some soybeans.